Hi BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am here to share with you my weekly reads videos. Today is the 31st of January and this is for week number 4 and it is from January 24th to the 30th. So I finished 3 books this week, super stoked about that. I did do my cutoff for the month today or yesterday because today I am starting 2 books for February. I could try and squeeze one more in because it is the last day of the month. I could probably try and read a Babysitter's Club book or a graphic novel or something like that. And I'm just like, you know what? Let's just start our February reading. That's fun too. So that is what I am going to be doing today. But just as a sneak peek to my my monthly wrap up that's going to come out on Thursday, I finished 15 books in the month of January, and I'm super, super pleased with that. My goal was 15. My goal every month is 15 books, and I finished exactly 15. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I had some big reading goals over the last few days, and work had been exceptionally busy. So not as much reading got done, which is fine. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about it. So, yeah, so in this video, there will be timestamps listed below if you want to jump ahead to hear about any of the specific books that I talk about this week. And then I'm going to share with you what I'm currently reading. I have a very, very small book haul, a single book. It's actually a library book haul, which is very exciting. And that's it. I'm not going to talk about any crafting today. The reason is, I'll share that with you at the end. No, it's fine. It's what I decided to do because I've been kind of hemming and hawing, and I've had a couple of people that I know personally, Bree and Rainey, hello ladies, who have been bugging me to bring back Sweater Weather, my knitting podcast. So I've decided to record an episode. It's been 5 months. Like I really should. And so I'm going to record that next, actually, after I'm done recording this. So if you do want to see my crafting content, I will leave, of course, a link to that channel in the description box below, so you can go ahead and check it out. So on to the books that I finished this week, you guys. So like me taking out some of this content, not having a lot of books this week, potentially this could be, for me, a shorter video. So the first book that I finished this week was Death by French Roast by Erickson. This book I gave 3.5 stars to. It is book number 8 in the Bookstore Cafe Mystery Series. I listened to it on audio, and it was narrated by Melissa Moran. And this was a NetGalley read, as I said at the beginning. This came out in October of 2020, so thank you very much to Kensington for sending me an e-art copy of this one to review, but I did borrow it from my library on audio. So like I said, this is the 8th book in the series. I have read a previous book in the series to this one, and that one was like, nah, and even this one, 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, but I'll be honest, guys, this Cozy Mystery series is not groundbreaking in any way. This series, to me, feels very formulaic to cozy mysteries in general. And that's not a bad thing. If you like cozy mysteries, you can delve into this series and know exactly what you're coming in for. You're getting a single female amateur sleuth. She has a cat. She runs a cafe / bookstore, and she is dating a local cop. I mean, all of this sounds very reminiscent to Hannah Swenson in the the Hannah Swenson series by Joanne Fluke. So it's a standard formula, and I think we can all agree on that, all of us who read cozy mysteries, that you tend to get these archetypes is it archetypes within these series, like within these kind of long-running series, that your amateur sleuth is usually a female and she's usually single. She usually has an animal of some kind, more often or not than it's a cat. She usually runs her own business of some kind. She usually has a meddling parent. In this case, it's her dad, and not that he's meddling in her life. It's not like Dolores in the Hannah Swenson series, but her dad is a mystery writer, and she often calls him for information on cases and things like that, like, to kind of pick his brain, if you will. And, this main character is often dating somebody in law enforcement. Sometimes there's even a love triangle of sorts. So yeah, these are kind of standard things within cozy mysteries, and that's okay. But sometimes it can get a little blasé, like, okay, I've read this before, kind of an idea. But what I liked about this one was the fact that the majority of the mystery itself revolved around a cold case. So the premise of the book is that her next door neighbor, who was a very nosy woman, ended up dying. She died of old age, essentially. But then she comes to find out that this woman's son was murdered. So our main character, Chrissy, decides to try and find out what happened to the murdered son 30 years ago. And in amongst that, someone else in town dies and yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. But again, it was nothing groundbreaking in terms of the cozy mystery genre. But if you like that small town cozy mystery, you know, that feel that you know exactly what you're going in for, definitely try this series out. Like I said, the first book didn't wow me. This one didn't wow me either. But I can absolutely see myself reading more of these just because they are very comforting. And like I said, you know exactly what you're coming in for or what you're going to get when you pick up one of these books. The next book that I finished, you guys, my favorite of the week. I don't know, this may have been my favorite of the month. So, you know, spoiler alert, was Enjoy the View by Sarah Morgenthaler. This book I gave 4.5 stars to. It is book number 3, and I'm up to current now in the Moose Springs series. There is a 4th book that's been announced, and I am so excited about it. I cannot wait. But that probably will not be till sometime later this year, if not even next year. And again, this was another NetGalley read. This one was published in January of 2021. So this one was just published, I think, back on the 19th of January. So thank you very much to Sourcebooks and NetGalley and the author for sending me an e-art copy of this one to review. But as you guys can see, I bought my own copy because I have the first 2 books in this series on my bookshelf and I needed the 3rd as well. So this is the story of River and Easton. So if you've been reading the story up until this point, and you know what, I usually say with contemporary romance, you can delve in and out of a series. I really think that this one, you need to read the books in order, in my opinion, to really get a feel for the characters. So Easton you've met since book number 1, and he is this big, tall mountain of a man, and his job is to take people mountaineering, essentially. He takes people up mountains in Alaska, and that is his job. And then in the off season, he teaches climbing, like rock climbing and things like that. Endurance and fitness and stuff like that. So he's this big, huge guy, and a lot of people, like when this book was released over on Instagram, were posting pictures of Jason Momoa as like Easton, like that's the kind of guy you got in your head, like this huge, big mountain of a man kind of an idea. And River is a former actress. She left her hometown in Wyoming when she was like 18 and she moved to Hollywood and she got a break in movies, but nothing ever did exceptionally well. And now she's like 30 years old and she's just not being cast anymore because in Hollywood standards, she's too old. So she's decided now to move behind the camera and she wants to do a documentary on Moose Springs. But again, like I said, you need to kind of read this series in order to understand that Moose Springs does not want outsiders. They do not want people coming into their town. They don't like the tourists. You know, they just want to keep the town to themselves, kind of an idea, like their own private little secret, if you will. So she keeps getting pushback every time she tries to film. So then they decide, Easton, whom she meets at the very beginning of the book, kind of gives her this idea like, oh, why don't you guys go, you know, up the mountain and, you know, up a mountain and film, you know, your ascent up this mountain. And she's like, oh, great idea. So they call a company to help them, a tour company. And it turns out that Easton, of course, is the one who's hired. So a good chunk of this book is the 2 of them with her 2, the people she's working with, Jesse and Bree, climbing this mountain. Now, this isn't just a little nature walk, you guys. These, like, River has been trained. She's, you know, and the other 2 people, you know, they're all very physically able. This is not like trying to climb Everest, but it's still a very high mountain. Now, I did some research because when I was reading the book, the mountain that is used in this book is not a real one in Alaska. But they say it's very similar to, I think it's Denali is the big one in Alaska. But I learned so much about mountaineering reading this book, and it was so interesting. And I really like that aspect. But the entire reason this book did not get 5 stars, there's an incident that happens, for those of you who have read it, when they're up on the mountain and they're going through a very dangerous area of the mountain, and River does something monumentally stupid. Like, she does something that is not only endangering her life, but the life of the other people. Like, when you're doing that kind of a climb, you are not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the people that you're with as well. That something that you do will affect them. And she, you know, literally threw caution to the wind and did this thing. And, you know, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but she, for a bit there, didn't see what she did wrong. Like, you know what I mean? And Easton was, of course, so angry with her. And I just lost a little bit of respect for her at that point. So unfortunately, this one did not get a 5-star because of that one incident. If it had been handled differently afterward, if she was, like, she does apologize of sorts, but then she gets mad at Easton for getting mad at her and for coming, small spoiler, for coming to save her, essentially. And I just thought, you stupid, stupid woman. And it literally made me angry reading it. So, kudos to the author for being able to, a character that I found very likable, to do something that I disliked very much. And then to bring her back again to a character that I liked again. So that was really, really good. But that part of it, I just did not like that at all, and I dropped it a 0.5 star rating. But still, I still think that this ended up being my favorite book of the month. No surprise, because I'm pretty sure, like, I read the first book in November, the second book in December, and then this one now in January. And I think all 3 of those months, these were my favorite books of the month. So yay on that one. So anyway, I highly recommend this book and this whole series. But again, do yourself a favor if you can and read it in order. And then the last book that I finished this week, I had great reading plans. I planned on reading and finishing the Heather Graham book. I planned on reading and finishing the Lexi Blake book, Butterfly Bayou, but I didn't have the time, and I didn't want to feel like I was forcing myself. So I thought, let's just finish off something short. So I looked on NetGalley, and I had this book, and I actually found it on Scribed on audio. So I was kind of listening to that a little bit while I was doing some cross-stitching and stuff late on Friday and then yesterday. So the bulk of this was listened to yesterday, and that was More Than Neighbors by Shannon and Stacey. First book in the Blackberry Bay series. This is Harlequin Special Edition number 2778. On audio, it was narrated by Tatiana Slovic, I believe is how you say her name. And this, again, a NetGalley read. It came out in July of 2020, so thank you to Harlequin, NetGalley, and the author for sending me an e-art copy of this one to review. So this was a pretty standard contemporary romance. I really like this one a lot. Our main characters are Meredith and Cam. And Meredith, after high school, moved out to California and got married to this very high-powered executive and had a daughter, and she was kind of like, that executive's wife kind of an idea. And then her husband dies. That's not a spoiler. She, at the very beginning of the book, she's, full well that she's a widow. And she has a younger daughter. I think the daughter's 4 or 5, and her name is Sophie, and a little dog named Oscar. And they go back to her hometown from California to New Hampshire to Blackberry Bay. And she decides to move home closer to her parents, after the death of her husband. So she moves into this little cottage, and next door is this man by the name of Cam. And he is a very high-powered executive from New York City, and he is spending his summer working from this cottage. Well, I don't want to give too much of his backstory away because you kind of find it out as you're reading the book, but suffice it to say, it was his grandmother's cottage. She died, and it was willed to him. And, excuse me, and now he's trying to find out more about his family, that side of his family, because he doesn't know very much about them. So, anyway, the two of them really don't start, he really doesn't have a problem with her, but she kind of has a problem with him. And, so they kind of butt heads a bit at the beginning, but of course romance ensues. It was super, super cute, really adorable. Shannon Stacey is such a great writer. This is the first in the series. I have the next 2 books to read. The second one I actually have from NetGalley, and I think the third one as well. No, I don't have the third one from NetGalley, but I do plan on picking it up anyway. The third book in the series actually made my Harlequin anticipated reads for February, for the special edition line, The House They Built, I think it was called. And I am really looking forward to that one too. So yeah, this is a great little series, very quick little reads. If you want that small town contemporary romance feel, definitely check it out. There is, like I said, a dog in the story. There's a precocious little girl. There is a cat, a disgruntled cat named Eleanor. There's meddling parents. Meredith's parents are kind of like pushing her in Cam's direction to get her to kind of move on after the death of her husband. Her husband's been gone a couple years, so it's not like, he just passed away kind of an idea. So yeah, really, really cute. Oh, and I didn't tell you guys, I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. So that's everything that I read this week, you guys. So like I said, shorter video. What am I currently reading? So I did start this morning while I was having my breakfast. I started reading The Boyfriend Project by Farah Roshan. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. So this is, again, a book for February. I'm very excited. So far, the first chapter, I am already loving it. I don't know the whole premise of the story. I didn't really read what it's about, but our main character finds out, like, she thinks she's got this date with this guy, or she has a date with this guy. It's not she thinks, she does. But they were supposed to go to dinner and then to like a club. And then he calls her, he's like, I gotta work late and blah, blah, blah. And then her sister is over there helping her get ready for this date and starts reading this account on Twitter, like this, like, live update thing on Twitter from this woman who's on this horrible date with this guy. Well, it turns out it's the guy that she's supposed to be going out with later. So she shows up at the restaurant to like kind of call him out on it. And the girl, of course, who he's on the date with, knew something was up. And then this third woman shows up, who he's also been catfishing or stringing along, or whatever you want to call it. I'm out of the loop. What is catfishing? I don't know these things. And there's a great scene where these three women are like pretty much telling him where he can shove it. And they're kind of like, and they're bonding with each other. It was super, super cute. And I really liked it. So already, first chapter in, I'm really enjoying this book. And the other one, the one on audio that I'm going to be starting today, once I'm done my filming, and I'm going to be sitting and relaxing and doing some crafting, I plan on reading The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I am very much looking forward to this one as well. I've heard some good things about it, so yay on that. So that is pretty much it, you guys. Last thing, like I said, a small book haul. So what happened was, I think I mentioned this in my TBR video for February, that I originally had a whole TBR and then I redid the whole thing. Well, when I put my original TBR together, I had this book on it, and I borrowed the book from the library because the e-copy of the book was going to be like 8 weeks from the library, and I wasn't going to be paying like the $16 or $17 for a Kindle edition. That's just ludicrous in my opinion. Ebooks should never, ever, ever cost more than $8. $8 at max is my opinion, but I don't set pricing for things. So I went and I looked, and the library had a physical copy, so I borrowed it. So then I went over to the library yesterday and picked it up. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to read it in February, even though it wasn't on my February TBR. There's, I think, 25 or 26 chapters in here, and I think I'm going to read a chapter a day. The Toronto Public Library right now is not charging late fees, and there's a few other copies of this out. But if I read a bit more and get it done before I have to return it, that's great. But if not, so be it. It is what it is. And if they do start charging fines, I'll pay the fee. You know, it goes to the library. It's all good. So that book is All Stirred Up by Brianne Moore. So I've heard very mixed reviews about this one. A lot of people I've heard did not care for this one, but it looks adorable. And again, it's a NetGalley read for me, so that'll be great to get another NetGalley book off the list. I get something about a woman who once lived on the success of the high-end restaurants founded by her late grandfather. But bad luck and worse management have brought the business to the edge of financial ruin. Now it's up to Suzanne to save the last remaining restaurant, Elliot's, the flagship in Edinburgh. So it takes place in Scotland. So that is fun too. The Scottish flag right there. So yeah, so I am looking forward to this one. It sounds really cute, and I think it'll be a really fun read. And the author grew up in was born in Pennsylvania and then moved to Edinburgh, Scotland. So, you know, she's kind of native to Scotland, which is always fun. So yeah, so I think that one will be a lot of fun. So you can mark that down as a currently reading as well. But I'll keep you guys updated as I read through it. So that's all I have for today's video, you guys. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Like I said, at work it's been a little bit crazy busy. I don't know why. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. Keep me busy. Keep me busy. I'm still working from home. Right now it's slated until the 9th of February where they got the stay-at-home order. A lot of us are assuming it's going to be extended because even though the case counts are dropping, the COVID numbers, are dropping, the ICUs are still really overwhelmed. And if you just suddenly open everything back up again, we're going to be back in the same place again. So I am happy to continue working from home. I enjoy it. The commute is brilliant. And what else happened? Oh, yesterday was my husband's birthday. Yeah, Garrett's birthday was yesterday, so that was nice. We didn't really do anything to celebrate. He had to work, unfortunately, but we did have dinner out on Wednesday, which was one of his days off. So, yeah, and he bought himself a drum kit for his birthday, an electric drum kit. So we actually can't hear. We just hear tap, 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 tap. He's got headphones. It's actually very, very cool. And he just bought himself lessons as well. So he paid for like these, you know, like it was a couple $100, I think, for these lessons. So yeah, he's really super stoked. He used to play when his kids were young. So he's happy. As long as he's happy, that's all that matters. But yeah, it was his birthday, so that was nice. And yeah, that's all I have, you guys. Cheers. I got my morning coffee. I'm going to go heat this back up a little bit. And then, like I said, I am filming a knitting podcast slash floss tube video next. Yes, I will be talking about cross stitch as well. So yeah, until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.